everyone. I'm about to show you 4 digital health patents that would blow the mind of any investor and would make competitors crazy. Then we're going to draw some quick conclusions from what we saw so that you can do the same thing with your patents to impress your potential investors and to make the lives of your competitors miserable. By way of quick introduction, my name is Gerson Panitch. I'm a partner at Finnegan, one of the world's largest and top-ranked intellectual property specialty law firms. We have about 800 employees in 10 offices around the world. And in addition to litigating patent disputes in U.S. courts, I spend a lot of my time working with companies to develop patent strategies designed to withstand the rigors of a courtroom challenge and to block competitors. I teach these principles in graduate level university courses that I teach, and I lead Finnegan's Strategic Patent Planning Group, where I help our clients apply these same principles to their businesses. So let's start by taking a look at a digital health patent that Amazon received in 2017. What was the problem Amazon was trying to solve? How do you determine somebody's heart rate if that person isn't wearing a heart rate monitor? Amazon patented detecting heart rate using facial images. Very simply, the scope of protection that Amazon received is as follows. Take images of a user's face using a camera, analyze the pixels to determine movement over time, and based on that, determine the user's heart rate. That's all the patent is about. Does the patent require any particular type of algorithm? No, it's just conceptual. It simply says, look at the pixels. It's so broad that presumably anyone who uses camera images of a face to determine heart rate would infringe this patent. Let's look at another patent example, also in the cardiac space. AliveCor just received this patent about a year ago. The problem this patent solves stems from the fact that the heart rate monitors of consumer wearables like smartwatches aren't precise enough to detect heart rate abnormalities. So AliveCor patented receiving a heart rate variability signal from a PPG sensor, run that through a machine learning algorithm trained to detect abnormalities, and generate a notification if an abnormality is detected. What's remarkable about this patent is that it refers to a machine learning algorithm, but the claims, that is the scope of protection of the patent, requires nothing more. There's no requirement that the algorithm has to work in any particular way. It's just conceptual. So presumably, anyone who applies any machine learning to PPG data in order to determine an abnormality would infringe this patent. Let's look at a third example. What's the problem that Medtronic is solving with this patent? The fact that regulating insulin in diabetic patients is difficult because each person's biology reacts differently to insulin transfusions. So what did Medtronic patent less than a year ago? Using a cloud-based server to keep tabs on a patient's glucose monitor and predicting when there's going to be a glycemic event. Then the server uses the patient's own historical data to calculate a control parameter that will keep the patient's glucose level in a desired range. It sends that parameter via the cloud to the patient's insulin pump, and that's it. That's the patent. What is remarkable about this patent is that the claims don't specify how it does the calculation. So basically, anyone who does this remote control using the patient's historical data, regardless of what algorithm they use, will presumably infringe this patent because Medtronic kept it conceptual. And this final example is the best of them all. 23andMe was just granted this patent in November. The challenge that 23andMe faced was that the type of genometric information they collect is confidential. However, their model depends on enabling people with similar traits to share information. How do you share information if it's confidential? So what did 23andMe patent? If an app user wants to exchange genometric data with another user, the app user makes a request that's sent to the other user. And the other user then replies. And if the other user's reply is yes, they can share the genometric data. Folks, that would necessarily have to happen under privacy laws. So anyone in this space who wants their users to be able to share genotype records presumably is going to have to infringe this patent. What can we learn from these examples? Investors love patents like these. Why? Because they give a company value by limiting competition. Every time you get a patent like these, your competitors will sit around their conference tables and say, what are we going to do? Actually, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to yell and scream that you should have never gotten the patent in the first place. That's what everybody does. But after they get over that, they're going to say to themselves, we have to tell our investors about this patent. And they're going to be reluctant to make an investment if they think that there's a risk of an infringement suit. Now, I have to tell you, most patents do not have the potential of the patents that I just showed you. 95 to 97% of patents, according to most analysts, are worthless. Why? Because most are not strategically developed to achieve a blocking position. Most patents have extra stuff in them that a competitor can look at and say, I don't need to do it that way, I'll do it a different way. If I could take a poll of this group and ask you to answer honestly with a show of hands, as I do when I'm teaching in an auditorium, most of you would admit that you would never have thought that the patents I just showed you were patentable. Most of you would admit that you would not have run to your patent attorney and said, claim the invention as broadly as you just saw it claimed in those patents. You would likely have instead described all the technical nuances to your patent attorney, and your patent attorney would have dutifully followed your instructions. Your patent attorney would have defined your invention in highly technical terms, resulting in a technical patent that would be easy for your competitors to circumvent. So lesson number one is that if you want great patents, you need to avoid technical patents in favor of conceptual patents. None of the patents that we discussed included overly technical details in the claims. Most of them claimed artificial intelligence without even claiming any artificial intelligence algorithms, or without even mentioning artificial intelligence. And if they claimed such algorithms, competitors would most likely look at the patent and say, I can find a way to avoid these technicalities. By focusing your claims on the broader concepts, you are more likely to create patent value. Lesson number two, which flows from lesson number one, is that if you want strategic patents, you cannot let the techies in your company define what the invention is, because they will, by their nature, define those inventions technically. You shouldn't dictate to your patent attorney what should be patented. Rather, you should work with a patent strategist who can understand the importance of your invention in context, and who will then define your invention for you in a way that will block competitors and will achieve your business goals. Unfortunately, many companies don't work with a patent strategist, and they end up patenting what the techies think is cool rather than what is most important for protecting the business. Number three, which flows from the first two, avoid complexity. Look, I'm a trial attorney. The last thing I want to do is explain to a judge or a jury how this complicated patent claim is infringed. Work with someone who enforces patents so that your claims don't simply pass the test to get a patent from the patent office, but they pass the test to withstand later attacks in court. Even if you don't plan to sue anyone for infringement, a competitor will only be scared of your patent if they believe that it will stand up in court. Lesson number four, which flows from lessons 1 through 3, is that you have to integrate patent strategy into your business model. You know, there was a survey done in 2015 that showed that over 80% of the S&P 500's value is derived from intangible assets. Not your buildings and your computers and your hardware, but what's up here. And business executives need to realize that that's where the value is coming from and give more attention to the IP. It should be addressed and fully understood in your business meetings. In advance of filing patent applications, you should figure out how your prospective patents are going to give you a measurable commercial advantage. And if the answer is it won't give us that advantage, or we're not sure if it will give us that advantage, then don't waste your money on that patent. Lesson number 5, you've got to be creative with your patenting. The patents I showed you were recently granted. There's a big, wide, open field out there of inventions that you can protect. But most companies can't see the potential because they harbor misconceptions about what's patentable. You need to allow a patent strategist to push you outside the box. And if you do, I guarantee you that you will be pleasantly surprised at what you're able to achieve. Listen, there are so many additional lessons that we could draw, but my time is running low. If you want to capture my contact information, you can Google me at Panitch at Finnegan, or you can click Alt print screen to capture my contact details right now, paste it, and call me at your convenience. Either way, I love this topic and I would be happy to have a friendly conversation with you about it. So I'm wishing you the best of luck developing strategic patents to block competitors and increase your investor value.